All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, here we are in game number 1 on a map I don't remember. Well, I do know it's Acropolis. Spawning the bottom right in the red, he is, of course, representing Kaitza Gaming, the one, the only, Innovation. And his opponent, the man you're all here to see this evening in the upper left in the blue, he is, for Team Makers, Classic. And Classic is absolutely the player we are interested in here tonight. I mean, yes, Innovation, always fantastic, always a fun player to watch, but, well, we're watching a meta of days gone by of players. Well, Innovation still plays the game, but Classic, he's coming back soon, so I'm excited to see what he had and refresh my memory on just exactly what he did. And again, of these metas that I'll be rediscovering a little bit along with you all because, well, I don't remember this meta nearly as well. Certainly not in TVP, so we're going to see exactly what happens. Of course, Acropolis is a bit bigger of a map. It has 8 maps per side, so again, that's on the bigger side there. It's a rather easy expand pattern into the natural. Third base as well. Maybe it gets a little bit more difficult when we get to that fourth, but hey, you know, with 3 bases, that means we're going to get some interesting games. Interesting game. It means we're going to see hopefully some more macro play. As I want to say, this meta was before the. I want to say this was before the 2.5 base +1 stim combat shield timing. So we're gonna have to see that. One thing I do know is we're not going to see Void Rays, right? That was a rather recent change. Well, I guess it's 6 months at this point, but certainly not by the time the Classic was playing. Although Phoenix are something that we may see. So here we have Innovation. He's just going with a Reaper expand. That was a lot more common back then than it is now. Where, you know, with some players, we look at a Beyond, for example, you see Reapers, I don't know, 25% of the time. After that, it's just that's a lot of Marine openings. There's like that Beyond TY setup. So Innovation here, let's go in Reaper Marine just to make sure that he stays safe, and into that we will see a reactor coming on down. And Classic, well, it's a Stargate opener. Classic is known for his Phoenix control, for his Phoenix ability. Oh, look at that. That's a long Reaper path. I'd kind of forgotten about that. But yeah, Classic is known for his Phoenix play here, especially into this matchup. And, well, we're going to have to see just what he decides to go. Whether this is a full-on Phoenix play, whether we see something else. Now, it is interesting, of course, to note here that this is a full wall-off from Classic on his natural. It means Reapers, means Hellions, if Innovation does decide to go for that. And I believe Hellions weren't really a thing back in 2019. Not nearly to the level that they are now. Oh, look at this. The Adept's going to get 2 workers and a Marine. What a great bounty here. It means this natural, I mean, it's not going to get mined up from a while. Oh, a Marine. Oh, wait, is it going to get the Reaper too? The Reaper will be able to stay away here, but what a bounty. It means Innovation, yes, he's going to be able to build his orbital. That's totally fine, but he's not going to be able to mine there for a while, and we have other units running across the map. What is that? That's a second Adept coming on in. Now, the bunker will finish, and that does make things a little bit more doable here, but it's 3 Marines and a Reaper against 2 Adepts. Actually, the Adept was able to get its way on up into the high ground, but I believe I heard a Widowmine burrow. There it is. Okay, so Classic got a split. He will. One Adept will stay alive, but this should be... Actually, there we go. We'll be able to get its way out. So, well, Widowmine has been triggered, which means we're not going to see Widowmine drops, and when they do, well, it's going to be Phoenix on the map here. He did damage. No, yes, no SCV. No, sorry. He got 2 SCVs, but nothing more than that. But he delayed the drop. He killed off some workers or some units as well, which means that this army from Innovation that he may attempt to build just going to be a little bit smaller than he otherwise would like. And again, we have Phoenixes on the way here, and this does mean that any sort of Widowmine drop that it kind of looks like Innovation is going for, right? He got those Widowmines. He does have a medevac here on the map. Well, it's just not going to do anything. Not with the control of Classic. Now, what I am very curious, though, is how Classic is going to turn this into a game, right? His natural is walled off. It's 4 minutes. He is going Phoenix play, so that does mean that you don't really need a third base quite as quickly. You can kind of expand 4:45 to 5 minutes if it's Phoenix play, and you'll be okay. But oh, look at this. The Phoenix, they're going to run out into the main base. They've been fooled by Innovation's sloth, how slow he's been in terms of actually getting that medevac across the map. So yeah, the Phoenix are across the map, but the medevac is looking to dive on in as well. And well, that's going to be a bit of a problem because again, the Phoenixes are not there. We do see a recall coming on in, but well, Widowmines are going to run on in. One was going to get lifted, second one's going to get lifted, and 0 damage for the machine himself. However, well, what this does mean is that the Phoenix weren't able to get damage of their own, but again, damage that you ignore is damage that, or damage that you prevent from happening is damage that you do to the other side in a game like this. Because again, innovation, I believe, does he have his third base? No, he does not. So this is still the 2-base deck here. We have a tank, we have tanks on the way, a couple additional barracks, and you know, I was talking about that +1 stim combat shield timing. Yeah, it's not quite that. We don't see stim on the way just yet. We don't see +1. I don't believe we have an eBay. No, we don't. But it does look like we are going to get just some form of 2-base aggression here. Because again, no third base has even been started from innovation. It's 5:30. Right, he's going to have to move out with this. And I do like this. Classics kind of realized the same thing. Is he kind of playing a meta, or playing a style that we all should recognize from 2021, right? The style that Zest has been playing against Clem and others, right? This Phoenix charge lot style, +1 armor. Just get a lot of units. You don't get gas on your third base. It's 4 gas because it's Phoenix, and you just overwhelm the Terran push. So again, it's interesting to see this back in 2019. Because I was kind of watching this, I'm like, okay, this is something we're starting to see players doing March, April of 2020. So I guess it's not too far away. That's about this game is about 6 months before that. But, you know, anyway, it's going to be a great response here because innovation, I mean, he's gearing up for this push. That being said, charge is not done. +1 is not yet done. And how many Phoenix do we have on the map? We only have 6. One of which is, of course, heavily damaged. So the army here from innovation is moving out on the map. And this is, of course, a combat shield timing. There is no stim here. There's a bit of an SCV pull. And yeah, this is a throwback. So we're going to see a bunker push here coming in from innovation, a la, say, a U-thermal at the time. So we're going to have to see whether Classic can hold. Charge is done in 5 seconds, which means it will be ready for the fight, but not before we see a bunker, before we see a couple missile turrets go on up, which is going to make it that much more difficult for these zealots to truly engage, right? They're going to get stuck on the buildings, and they're not really going to be able to do what they want against the army. That being said, of course, well, if you can't attack one angle, just attack another. Here's the Phoenix. They're going to go on in, and they will be able to knock out down, I believe, a medevac for their troubles. Medevac and a Phoenix. Yeah, actually, it was just a Viking, excuse me, for their troubles. Now we do have the Zealots looking to run on in, and those force fields are going to be dramatic here, but the 2 tanks are firing away. An innovation with this chokehold here, even with the force fields, that prevents his opponent's army from getting on top of it as much as it does prevent innovation from running away. Classic, though, his +1 armor is now done. He's getting ready for an even bigger surround here from the backside once again, because, I mean, you can't attack from the front in there. So the Phoenix are going to lift the tanks. Tank 1 is going to get dropped. Tank 2 is going to get dropped. Just a full-on sandwich coming on in here from Classic. Yeah, the bunkers are full, but it's not going to be enough, even with everything else. The bunkers will go down. The army will go down. Do we have any Phoenix left? Yeah, we have 1, which means this medevac will be able to roughly escape, especially with the Vikings here. But what a trade there for Classic. He has his third base up. He has +1 attack, +2 armor on the way. Blinks on the way as well, but not really relevant to the game at this point. But innovation did not get the damage he was looking for in this fight, not by a long stretch. In fact, Classic, well, he's just going to expand once again. 4th base is on the way. His innovation's only just now starting his 3rd. So yes, innovation. It was a powerful push. Didn't get enough done, though, and Classic is now massively ahead for an economic position. He's up 12 workers. It will soon be more. He's getting more upgrades. He's getting Archons. He's got his 4th base halfway done. And I'm not really sure. It's going to be a big ask here from innovation to really go back in and make this game happen and make this victory happen. That being said, the drop is going to try to do something, although I don't believe it got... No, it didn't get any probes. Innovation, though, it is smart here for him to go start to leverage this drop style. Because, again, 5 Phoenix, 6 Phoenix went down. There's only 1 that remains, and 1 Phoenix is honestly almost worse than 0 Phoenix because it just takes up supply and doesn't really do much in and of itself. So, with that being said, all right, innovation may be able to lean into this drop play a little bit more. That doesn't stop the problem, right? Classic continues to grow. He continues to expand. He continues to get more powerful. The innovation is just not allowed to do that. Now, I would like to see Classic go into Robotech, and he does have an observer, but go on into Colossus, right? Add that splash that his army is lacking, because, yeah, innovation right now is about 130 supply, 75 army supply. That's good enough. But as the game goes later, as innovation starts to add these ghosts into play, and actually is Enhanced Shockwave an upgrade back in 2019? When was that added? I think Enhanced Shockwaves is a thing right around now. I don't remember. We'll check the upgrade tab, see whether it gets researched. Oh, okay, there we go. So Enhanced Shockwaves are a thing at back in 2019. Anyway, we have Zealots running on in. Archons, I mean, Classic just wants to make a push, make a break here right now, but that is a lot of Widowmines indeed as the Zealots get on top of Widowmine shots are actually not going to be that great. There's just so many Zealots here, just getting on top of everything. Archons firing strong as well. The tanks are going down, and man, look at these force fields. Innovation can just not fight. The Zealots, they're not even moving that fast, but they're taking this fight lead. Game 1, it goes to Classic in a tour de force. All right, here we are spawning in the bottom left. Excuse me, upper left in the blue. He is down 1 game in the series. Certainly not out, never out. He is the machine. He is Innovation. And his opponent spawning in the bottom right in the red. He is, of course, for Team Makers, Classic. And of course, when we talk about what team these players are from, I'm not talking about 2021, although Innovation still for Kites of Gaming. Talking about, of course, the teams that they represented at the time these games were played. So it was Makers and it was Kites of Gaming, as we do zoom on in on the fact that this was this map had a didn't this map have slow zones through the middle? But anyway, that is a bear. Is this, no, it just says disco in the middle. I'm thinking of I think it was called Blackpink, although they changed the name because well, Blackpink was a copyright infringement. I believe it turned into Neo Soul LE, I think, something like that. This was right around this time. But anyways, yeah, we do have, once again, Innovation going for a Reaper expand, to the surprise of no one who remembers the meta at the time, which I don't know, I don't, so maybe I'm just talking. But we should probably talk about these old maps as we get on into the game. This is a massive natural, and you kind of think, oh, well, maybe you can get out this way. No, it is actually an extremely pocket ramp to get on into your natural here. So it's a little bit more defensible. You don't have to worry about anything coming on in from the natural as much because, again, it's just a big travel distance. But it's also, you'd think, oh, wow, with this this much area, there's going to be a big Reaper Cliff. The answer is no. It's also very small, but it does mean this map is going to be vulnerable to Blink Stalkers just a little bit. Right, as, well, you know, it's a big main ramp, or it's a big main cliff. So Blink Stalkers will always be potentially a problem there, especially with a lack of vision in so many parts of this space unless you explicitly look for it. So that may be something that we see Classic do here. But again, Blink Stalkers, that 3-gate Blink Stalker build that you all may be so familiar with didn't really become as insanely popular as it is until Parting Season 1 GSL 2020. So who knows what we're going to see here. So we do have a Sentry opening, so that does kind of imply here from Classic that he does want to get a little bit more defensive, make sure that he can expand properly, get proper scouting, have that force field in case he needs it. But there we go, Twilight is on the way. So at the very least, it will be a Twilight opening. Now, Innovation for his part, once again, he is going for the Widowmine drop, but this time, it's not the incredibly destructive Adept pressure that we saw in game number 1, where the Adepts got in, they get a lot of damage done, and, well, they just made Innovation really just not get the timing that he was looking for in any way, shape, or form. So there we go. Blink on the way. The addition of a second gateway, so most likely a 2-gate expand coming in from Classic in this game number 2. And we're just going to have to see how much damage Innovation gets done. Because, again, that's kind of the inflection point at this point where it's not as dynamic. I mean, certainly the matchup is cool, and you get into the mid-game and it gets really explosive. But for the early game, it's not quite as, to my memory at least, it's not quite as dynamic as it was in the... as it is now, right? Where you have all these Hellion drops and 4-gate blinks and DT drops are coming back on in, which were, of course, a thing back then as well. But it seems like the early game aggression is a bit more of a thing in 2021 as maps have evolved and metas have evolved a little bit. And you certainly don't have, well, you certainly do not have Proxy Void Ray like we have in 2021. So anyway, Classic will get the scout off. He's going to say, okay, hey, 3-1-1, right? No third base, +1 stim combat. Oh, well, +1 at the very least, because I saw the eBay as well. Okay, I see what you're up to here. And he will, in fact, see the Widowmine drop coming on in as well. And hey, with the Stalkers here. well, Classic will be able to defend that rather easily. And, you know, maybe he would have liked to see Innovation make the drop actually happen so he can clean it up. But no end of the world. Not the end of the world here whatsoever. Now Classic that he's successfully defended the natural, has successfully defended the main base here. Well, he is going to take a third base. This is again a two-base blink, or two-gate blink expand build coming on in from Classic, and I like this because he understands that, hey, Innovation, well, he's being a little aggressively greedy here. Okay, it's time for +1. It's time for 1-1, right? Get charged, just get a lot of stuff on the ground. Play that charge lot style that, well, it's a version of the charge lot style that became so popular towards the middle end of 2021. So it's actually pretty cool here watching this because we can see Classic kind of being at the bleeding edge of where the meta was. Because this charge lot build, to my memory, was not nearly as popular as it was when Astrea and Zest and everyone and their mother were doing it mid-end of 2020 to deal with a +1 stim combat shield timing. But Innovation's going to go for that here. It will, of course, be +1 stim and combat shields, not the combat shield timing we saw in game number 1, which means we're not likely to see STVs pulled with this. We're not likely to see that kind of bunker rush that we saw. Instead, of course, it will just be, well, just a lot of units. But of course, this is the Widowmine version, not the tank version that you may be familiar with now, which means it's going to be a little bit better against the charge lot composition, and also better against the Immortals. So we're gonna have to see just how well this one works out. Here's Classic. Well, he has Blink done now. He's gonna move out on the map, try to see what he can get done. Maybe prevent this army from doing too much damage. But you got to remember here, ideally you're already on the map. Ideally these stalkers are already making their presence known and delaying Innovation from moving out at all. In this situation, Innovation has already found his way halfway across the map before the Blink Stalkers make themselves known. And Classic, he's not going to be able to get quite as much done as he otherwise would like. And yeah, he's killing off Marines here or there, but ideally he's done this 2 or 3 or 4 more times with his Blink Stalkers, knocked off a couple more Marines, maybe even gotten some Widowmines, which would be very nice, and made this push even less powerful. But now we have 1-1 done here. Classic, he's down about 30 army supply, which is the big deal. 15 army supply, yeah, that's doable with a bunch of charge lots. When it's down 30, that gets a little bit more problematic. Here's the Zealots are going to try to filter on in. They have upgrades, sure, but that's just about it. I think army supply is a big problem, and this position from Innovation is so damn good because not the army can't fight. Now the Zealots are going to try to find their way on in, but the Widowmine shots are going to be powerful indeed. The force fields are actually just preventing this army from making contact. And as that happens, Innovation, he's not just one place at once, as he does have his army in the third looking to knock that down as well. The Immortals are going down. The entire army of Classic is going down here in this game number 2. Innovation, he's found not 1 salient point, but 2 in the army of Classic. It is dead. There are going to be no more Stalkers, no more Adepts in this game. Not that the Adepts even matter, but the Cybercore goes down. And Innovation, his aggression just continues. And of course, behind this, he has his third base done. And Orbital is on the way. These Widowmines are just getting so much damage done. The Immortal is going to go down. Oh, now it is actually, as we do have the final drop coming on in here. And yeah, 1-1 is a thing, but it's only a 1 upgrade lead. It's not 2. The Widowmines, again, they're just doing so damn much here. And well, it looks like it's just going to be all she wrote here for Classic in this game number 2, as he's down 40 supply. Innovation just continues to rally and drop across the map. And what can Classic do? I mean, he's trying to stabilize here as Zealots continue to be warped on in, but look at resources lost. He has lost twice as much as Innovation. He's down 40 army supply. He's down 2/3 of his opponent's army supply. Innovation's mining off of 3 bases, and I guess technically Classic is as well, but it's a game of quantity at this point, not even of quality. Classic's army's not even that high quality anyways, but yeah, it's a game of quantity here. And unfortunately, Innovation is just leaning into Classic with the weight of his wallet. Now, as the rest of these pylons do go on down, Classic's map is just going to continue to shrink, continue to get smaller. And Innovation, well, now it's time for him to finish that rally moving on in, and I like this. He's just adding Liberators, because what is Classic building? He's building Zealots. He's building Immortals, things that can do passively well, can do sometimes even very well against this Terran army. However, none of that shoots up, so the Liberators are going to be able to just provide a really powerful position that Innovation can rally back on into. As now we have the Doom drop into the main base. Innovation is going to look to move with his rally, most likely into the third base, just force Classic to fight on 2 fronts at once. These Widowmine shots are just going to be absolutely massive. There we go. But hey, there's some friendly fire. That's going to be rather nice. Now the Liberators are here, which means the Sentries are going to go down, which means the power units are going to go down here. Notice Innovation, he's just targeting the Immortals now. He says, look, I don't care about the Zealots. My army can deal with that. But the Immortals, the Stalkers, the things that can deal, well, do damage, are going to be the big focus here. And, well, that's just going to be it. Innovation, he's going to take game 2. And here we are now. Classic is taking a map. Innovation, though, strikes back in game number 2 in a tour de force. He takes game number 2 with just relentless aggression. And now we're getting on into Thunderbird here. Another large map for game number 3. And well, let's see what Classic can do to strike back, or whether Innovation is going to turn that 1-0 deficit into a 2-1 lead. And spawning in the bottom right, in the blue, he is the man, the myth, the machine himself, Innovation. And his opponent spawning the upper left in the red. He is, for Team Makers, Classic. So Thunderbird is it's a rather big map. That's fair to say. It's a big map indeed, as it has, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bases that a player can reasonably take. So again, kind of like what we saw on map number 1 as well, but it's massive. It is absolutely massive. It is one of those maps that we saw Mech versus Protoss on, because you can get away with it, because you don't get insanely punished early on by pressure, because the map is just so big and so defensible. In fact, who can forget, it was was it? No, it was Mar versus Stats, I believe, in the GSL on this map that we saw. And we just saw some insanely powerful mech play. Really one of the games of the year. But that may have been in 2020, like early 2020. So if I was to hazard a guess, I think we're going to see Classic open Stargate once again. Because A, this map is big, and Stargate is good on bigger maps, right? It allows you to defend areas a little bit more. But also, I mean, Classic looked really good with that start. And there we go. Stargate is now going down. But Classic looked really good when he opened Stargate. And, you know, he looked like he had a shot against Innovation. But I gotta feel like that 2 forge play was maybe just a little bit too greedy for the type of situation that Classic found himself in, right? Because, well, if it's if you just get armor, for example, yeah, you can get away with it. In fact, that is how the modern meta solves that +1 stim combat shield timing issue. But when you go for a second forge, right, you get that +1 attack as well as the +1 armor, +1 armor instead of the +1 as well as the +1 attack. That's a lot of resources that you would rather be getting into maybe faster gateways, into more zealots, into maybe a couple stalkers early on that allow you to slow the push down even more. And without that ability, well, things get a little bit problematic indeed. Is it looks like this Reaper got 3 probes. So that's going to be big here as Classic. Hopefully this is not the sign of, well, nerves after game number 2, because 3 probes is, I mean, you lose 1, right? That's your scouting probe, whatever, you expect it. But losing a couple more there in your base, that's a bit of a problem. But of course, Classic, he is actually moving out with a really cool little move out right here. It's 2 Adepts and it's a Phoenix. So it means that, well, the Adepts run on in with the Phoenix there. So any sort of, like the 4 or 5 Marine defense, well, you can kind of lift one. You can lift one, and then the 2 Adepts can fight the 4 other Marines. No, it looks like Classic is going to wait for his 3rd Adept to move on out. And there we go. Actually, with the cycle here, this is no longer is really going to be a thing here from Classic, but with a 2nd Phoenix, he can lift it, but I guess he's not going to. Okay. So there we go. Again, Stargate expand here. Third base on the way as we have additional gateways getting added on in. But Innovation, he's going for the same build he went for in game number 2 because, hey, you know what? It worked. Right, he got a lot of damage done. But okay, so the Adepts, they shade on in. But I feel like that was a little bit premature. As one Adept will go on down. And like, I like the idea, right? You shade on in, you want to deal with a Phoenix, and okay, we should have, okay, a couple of Marines will go on down here. And it's interesting, when we talk about how this game goes, right? It's interesting because Phoenix really fill the role of the Stalker. So you might say, oh yeah, normally against +1 stim, yeah, Stalkers need to be doing that. In this game though, the Phoenix, they're sharking around. They don't have as much longevity as Stalkers do because of course Stalkers, they do damage as long as they have HP. Phoenix, not really. They are incredibly reliant on their energies. So they're not going to be able to quite slow things down nearly as much. But on the flip side, they can catch medevacs really easily, and you need that healing when you're going for this +1 stim combat shield timing. Without the medevacs, well, the energy, the health that you have that you can deal with is just not quite there. So Classic, it looks like he's going up to 6 Phoenix right now, maybe even 7 or 8, which again is a much more modern style. As we do have +1 armor on the way, charge on the way, and all Classic's goal here, all he wants to do is make sure that he is able to get these upgrades out before the push from Innovation comes. If he gets the upgrades, if he gets out up to 6, 7 gateways, he's going up to 6 right now, he's going to be fine. Right, especially with the cannons on the way, he's going to be totally fine. But if he doesn't, right, if he's not able to get up those 6, 7, 8 gateways, it's going to be a bit problematic. Oh, he's getting a forge as well. This is insanely greedy from Classic here, at least in my 2021 understanding of the game state. Granted, 2019 is not 2021. We are 2 or 3 balance changes removed from the game that was being played right now, so I don't know. Maybe my inclination is a little bit different, but we did see that that 1-1 did appear to be a little bit greedy in the previous game. But oh man, I love this. He's just going to get so many Widow Mines here, and when you're going for a charge lot defense, as he is, oh, you got to be careful. You don't want to lose those Phoenix. I mean, yes, they found worth, absolutely, but you still don't want to lose any. I think he only lost 1. Oh, he lost 2. Okay, still manageable. But now Innovation, he's moving out here on the map. Charge is done in just about 15 seconds. I think 15, 20 seconds. +1's a little bit slower. But as long as you get +1, or sorry, as long as you get charged, you should be fine. And I think the Phoenix here, they want to move across the map. Granted, this is not the +1 stim combat shield tank push that we see in 2021, where you just really need those Phoenix to make sure you lift the tanks. This is a little bit, I'm not going to say lower tech because we still have Widow Mines, but a little bit less static, a little bit less static than what we see in that modern stuff. But now we do have the push coming on. It means the Cyclone's going to go down. And oh, nice pickup there from Innovation. We'll be able to save that off, but Phoenix will be able to. Okay, nice target fire there from Innovation. That means that Phoenix will go down, and that means, well, the Cyclone is still alive. It is still long range free damage, but we do have 1 more weapons coming on in. +1 armor is done. We're going to see +1 attack done as well here. So Classic has an upgrade lead. He has a strong defensive position even as the shield battery does run out of energy. But he needs a little bit more. He's still down half the army supply of his opponent. So yeah, he's got a strong defensive position, but Innovation can just kind of kite backwards here. There is so much army here from Innovation, even with the upgrade lead. Everything is going on down, and I cannot help but feel that Classic maybe was just a little bit too greedy. Once again, Chargeless, now they're going to come to the fore, but Innovation, his rally is strong indeed. The Phoenix is starting to run out of energy, starting to go on down. We see some final lifts on top of the Widow Mines, as if that's going to do anything. The Manor Mule is getting dropped as well. Innovation, he says, having none of this game. Get out, Classic, get out, Innovation. He takes game 3. And now, as we get into game number 4, Innovation in a tour de force. He's did the same build 2 games in a row. He smashed Classic 2 games in a row. Game number 4, though, we're going to have to see whether Classic can do something a little bit different. As spawning in the bottom left, you are looking at the main base of the machine himself. He is Innovation. And his opponent spawning the upper right in the blue, trying to even the series out once again. In the blue, he is Classic. And again, as appears to be kind of a trend in the maps here of this map pool, once again we see a rather large map. We see 8 8 bases aside. Actually, is that? Yeah, that's 8 bases aside. And again, that means we probably should see a Stargate play from Classic. I don't want to see that double forge though, because maybe it's an outdated understanding or a forward-dated understanding of the meta, but it feels like this double forge style when you go for charge and Phoenixes and everything else against a 2-base Terran, it just feels like it's a little bit too much of everything. Get Phoenix and sure, get +1 armor and get charge, but maybe don't get +1 attack, or get 1/1, but just get that and make. Well, actually, I think Classic did that in game number 2 and he kind of got bopped. Maybe just don't get the second forge anyways. There's just a little bit too much, too much greed in this game. Or we're gonna have to see. As now, well, we're just gonna have to see what Classic goes for as the Cybercore. Now it is finished. Adept is on the way. Warp Gate's on the way. Doesn't tell us too much just yet. This is a PVT at this time. I don't believe it was like PVZ where it's like, okay, well, you go Warp Gate or you go Stargate, one way or the others. Now we have the Reaper across the map as well. Innovation, he's got the same build. Once again, Reaper expand into the reactor. I believe this time he did not get a Marine. The map is just too big for that, but bunker on the way as well. And actually, okay, so will be a Twilight build coming on up in this game number 4. As well, we see the Sentry on the way. We do not see the Stargate, and we see the gas starting to accrue. So there we go. Twilight is on the way, but we have a couple avenues we can come out of here from Classic. This could be a Resonating Glaives build. Unlikely, but possible. We can see a Dark Shrine build, a DT drop of some sort coming on in a la 2021 Zest. Or, of course, this could be the standard 2-gate Blink Expand. Quick third base. Get on into the mid-game. Do what you can. So we're just going to have to see. Well, okay, the Adepts will be able to get on in, but not before the bunker is done. So this really, it may deny a little bit of mining, but not even that. The Adept, okay, yeah, no, never mind. The Adept will stay. And this entire army of the Terran is rather low. So with that being the case, well, the Adept should be, the Adept gets into the main base, but now it's going to get too low here with the 4 or 5 Marines. And yes, all the 4 or 5 Marines, they do get low, but they do not die. And now, well, Classic, Blink on the way, second gate on the way. So this is, again, 2-gate Blink Expand coming on in from the Chin Toss. And I'm actually, because I don't remember this map all that well, I am curious to see, it's got to be the linear expand, right? There's no way he does the kind of the pseudo-triangular advanced position. I mean, I wasn't watching as much StarCraft when this map was really in the pool as I do now. But the only World of Sleepers map, or the only World of Sleepers game I remember was Rogue versus Classic, I think, from BlizzCon 2019, where he went for the Blink DT build. But again, that is a far different matchup and far different situation here. So Classic, he's not going to go for that. Of course, Blink is on the way here, and there we go. He does take the linear third, as one would expect. In Innovation, well, what do we see? We see tanks on the way this time, not Widowmine. So that is deviation number 1, but it is still a 2-1-1-ish opening here. Third barracks on the way. So we do see Stim, but I don't believe we see a... No, we don't. We do not see an eBay here. So Innovation maybe just positioning himself for quick Stim, but getting a third base behind this. Even with that 3 barracks, it may be that. But more likely, this is just going to be a Stim combat shield tank push. What you make up for in, well, what you lose in +1, you make up for in tanks. And World of Sleeper has some really nice chokes, it appears. So that does make sense indeed. As once again, a Classic, I mean, he's going for that double forge style. He does have charge on the way, but I believe, no, he did get Blink this time. But I like this. He's being more active with his army in this game compared to the previous one, which means that potentially maybe he's going to be able to pair away at the Terran army just a little bit more. Make that initial bit of pressure a little bit more scary. Now we have the Stalkers getting ready to blink on up into the main base. There is no defense here from Innovation just yet. The Cyclone will not go down now. Innovation, he is rotating around to defend this. Can he get the combat shields? I mean, ideally you'd get Stim, but Stim is a little bit too far back. But no, Classic instead, he's just going to lose all of these Stalkers, at the very least most of them. And that was not worth it at all here for Classic. I mean, I like the idea, right? Get a little bit more active, but that was 5 Stalkers. That was never really going to be able to fight the army. And man, Innovation did such a good job of staying just out of vision, of making it so that while his main army was absolutely ready to fight, Classic didn't see it. And so Classic felt totally safe blinking on into the main base, into the waiting maw of the Terran army. And now Stim is done. Combat Shield is done. We have three tanks in this army. A bunch of SCVs getting pulled as well. And once again, this is scary. Now, okay, the Stalkers will blink on in. Once again, they will not be able to get the combat shields, though. So that means that these Stalkers, well, they're going to have to get recalled. I do believe that or they lose their lives, I guess. Now we have the tankers. They're going to move on forward here. Charge is not yet done. Neither is 1-1. So we do, of course, see bunkers on the way here. And with these tanks sieging on up, I mean, this is going to be a scary position for Classic indeed. As Innovation, he's just knocking down the production. He says, look, I don't care what tech you have if you don't have the army, if you cannot produce the army here. So now the Zealots, they're going to move on in right as charge completes, but the tanks are free firing here. More Zealots get on top of things. Immortals go down as well. Innovation, bibbity babbity bobbity, your base is my property. Innovation, he's going up 3-1. Spawning the upper left. In the blue, he is up 2 maps in this series already. Of course, he has to get to 5 for ultimate victory, but man, he's well on his way. He is in the upper left. Innovation. And his opponent in the bottom right, in the red, he is returning soon. But for now, we just get to see his memories. Classic. Memories of a better time when the Chintas ruled the world, or at least held a candle to the dominance of the Serals and the Marus that we did experience in 2019. I mean, 2019, was it 2018, 2019? That was truly the year of Seral. Well, Classic, certainly, he had his moments too. And while Zest, you know, has been good, while Trap has won more tournaments this year than a Protest has won in a while, it feels a very, I'm not going to say gimmicky, because that's not quite true, but unstable. Right, you see Trap go and he'll win a tournament, then he'll bomb out round of 32 and bomb out really early the next season, stuff like that. Or he'll win weekend tournaments and then just do poorly in the GSL. Whereas Classic, at his height, he was doing well in everything. I mean, he was at times the best player in the world. Now, and certainly the best Protest player. So I'm very excited to see him come back here, and I'm excited to see him hopefully come back in this series as a, well, Innovation is certainly making it hard on him. Classic's tried a bunch of different variations on how to hold this +1 Stim combat shield, or this Stim combat shield timing, or this Stim-ish, this 2-base timing. Let's call it what it is. The Innovation has been going for, and has been going for, and has been going for, and every single attempt outside of game 1 has just failed immediately. So what's Classic gonna do in game number 4? He's gonna proxy something. I think that is gonna be a proxy pylon there, because again, this is a much shorter map. All right, this is not a map that is quite as easy to just kind of defend on. Well, as we say that, I mean, Classic did struggle to defend the first couple maps, but theoretically not a map that is quite as easy to defend as a World of Sleepers, as a the other ones, I'm forgetting their names. So Classic is opening Twilight Council. And okay, no, that wasn't that was just a scouting probe that was hiding away. So now that probe will find its way on into the natural, I think, of Innovation. It's not going to see. It's going to see that there are workers mining there. So that is just about all he's going to see. Just about normal. That's going to be enough, I think. Classic is like, okay, look, you're not one-basing me here. You're not doing some sort of crazy all-in. No. It's just going to be Reaper Marine expand, and we're going to be fine. Now, Innovation first part does look like he will be going for Widowmine drop once again. Back in 2019, this was a more favored, a more popular style. I mean, we do see still Widowmine drops now. Don't get me wrong, but you see a lot more. You see a lot of Hellion openings now. You see Raven openings. You see all this stuff. That's just not Widowmine drops. So back then, or back now, I guess, as we look at these games, Widowmine drops again, much more popular. And we're gonna have to see how much damage this gets done. The Widowmines in the army have gotten a lot of damage, but the Widowmine drops, not so much. We're gonna have to see whether Innovation's actually able to do that here in this game. And Classic again for his part. It's a blink expand. Should not surprise him. What? Oh, that was the Reaper. Okay, the Reaper just died. Innovation, of course, playing an immaculate game thus far. He's not lost a single unit. Granted, Innovation's lost 1 Reaper, so it's not like either players have been trading all that heavily. And now it looks like, okay, Classic's going to take his 3rd base, as well as we do have the first Widowmine drop coming off here. Classic, though, he's absolutely positioned well to defend this. So Innovation really shouldn't get a lot done with this. Classic's going to take his third base rather soon. But, oh, you know what? He's getting a bit aggressive here as well. So, actually, does Classic see this? No, he doesn't. Which means Innovation actually may be able to get a bunch of damage done here because, of course, Starkers are warping on in on the other side of the map. This is 3-gate pressure coming on in from the Chin Toss himself. And, you know, this is a perfect timing here for Innovation, right? He will be able to get that drop in. There are no Stalkers on Classic's side of the map. And, yes, there are observers that I forget whether Widowmines were fully cloaked in this patch. But, yes, there are observers out. But again, the army is not really there to defend it. It's all on the other side of the map here. That does mean that Innovation, maybe he doesn't have quite as much army as he would otherwise like. But there we go. Now we have the hallucination on into the main base. It will see everything. The Stalkers are going to blink on into the main base here. And there we go. So they're just going to target down one of the Marauders. Second Marauder is going to go down, which means these Marines are not going to be able to fight nearly as well. And now we, of course, we see the Widowmine drop coming on in on the other side of the map here. Okay, it's going to go on into the natural. Classic, though, he's on top of things. All the probes are going to get pulled as we have the fight coming on in. Looks like this is a fight that Classic... Oh, maybe not with the reinforcements. As we have the drop going on into the main base as well. Starks are going to blink on top of everything. One Widowmine goes down. Oh, barely. They will not get that. But the Widowmine goes down. Or, excuse me, the Medevac goes down. No damage there. Natural. Well... Widowmine in the natural will die as well. And now Classic getting ready to move on in. Once again, Widowmine is going to get targeted on down here. Classic is getting so much damage done in this game. It's been, what is that, 9, 10 SCVs to 4. But it's not game ending. Not yet. So what do we have? +1. 1-1 here on the way. Charge as well. Classic. This time he's in a much better situation. This time he's been able to remove the army of Innovation from the map. So even as we do have +1 stim, combat shields, concussive shells, all coming on out here from Innovation in this game, Classic is going to be able to actually exert pressure on the map. He's going to be able to deal with this army because it's just so much smaller. Yeah, it's 40 army supplied to 28, but I mean, this is not all of it, right? And a lot of this army is in medevacs. A lot of that supply is in medevacs. So yeah, they're powerful. Yes, they keep the army alive, but it does mean the Classic's actually able to fight this army a little bit better. And behind this, of course, we have more gateways on the way. We have a third base. It's fully mining on 55 workers. No gas, all minerals. 1-1's on the way. Charge is just about done. This army that Innovation wants to move out on the map with, it's so much smaller than we see in previous games. I mean, game 3, he moved out on the map with a 30 army supply. He was 80 army supply to 50. 80 army supply to 40, I think, at one point. This game, though, Classic, he is within 10, 15 army supply. He is going to have better upgrades. And with this charge, he will be able to take this fight even better. And I like this, of course, as well. He's sitting active on the map. He's paring away more of the army of Innovation, forcing more stims than he has done in previous games. And of course, that's what you want to do, right? You want to make sure there are as little energy on the medevacs as possible. You want to knock down as many Marines, as many Marauders, as many Widowmines, if you can pull that off. And just really prevent Innovation from really getting too much done in this game. Now, of course, Classic, for his part, we do have a Templar Archives on the way. He will eventually have Archons to deal with this, and he's going to find the army as well. Innovation, he's marauding forward. Okay, looks like Classic doesn't really want to take that fight. But again, the army of Classic, it is growing. It is not this 30 army supply deficit we talked about in the previous game. That is a lot of charge loss here. This is a much more wide open fight too. He can get the big concave running on in. That being said, though, there's a lot of Widowmines on in here, so he's got to get good splits. And you know what? He's going to have fairly good ones indeed. Stalkers are going to blink backwards. Zealots, well, a lot of them will die, but that is a sacrifice that Classic, I believe, is willing to make. Yeah, he's sitting here within 20 army supply of the Terran, and that's really all that you need. Stalkers looking forward to take the fights, do what they can, knock down as much energy, as much health as possible. And now, well, the Zealots are going to look to run on in, but there's still more Widowmines, and those are going to take juicy fights indeed. And as much as we talk about, hey, you know what, it's looking good for a Classic in this game, look at the supplies. Innovation, he's up 50 army supply. Yeah, he's down an upgrade, but that gap is going to close rather soon. In Innovation, I think those Widowmines may have done just what he needed to make sure that this happens. It may be just enough here in this game, especially now with the Liberators, the Stalkers, they got to be even more careful. They need to make sure that they can take the fight. They can get on top of the Liberators in this fight, and they're just not being allowed to. There's just so much bio here as they get on top of the Charles. Once again, I mean, hold position's doing something, but it just means the Zealots are dying. Once again, the Zealots, they're going to move on into the meat grinder. And well, I guess that means their meat is going to get ground. Stalkers blinking backwards, trying to do what they can. But the trick is we just don't have the shield batteries. It looks like 2019. Classic just didn't quite have the understanding of how to just get a ton of shield batteries that we do in 2021. The entire army from Classic is going down, despite how good of an opening that was. GG, Classic. He's going to fall down. Now, Innovation, he's going to go up 4-1 in this series. He's one game from taking the series, taking this entire best of 9. All right, here we are once again, and spawning the bottom right in the red. He is the chin toss himself. Give it up for Classic. And his opponent in the upper left with 4 quick wins to his name, the machine himself. He is Innovation. And when we talk about machines here, it is absolutely fair, it is absolutely valid to talk about the, what do you want to say, that the domination is maybe a good way to talk about it, that Innovation has inflicted upon his opponent over these last several games. Game 1, sure, Classic looked good. He did great work with the Phoenix Blade. He defended rather well the Marine, the aggression from Innovation, that game number 1. But after that, Innovation, it seems like he's turned on a little bit different of a switch from here on out. He has been able to go on and make his move matter, to make these barracks pushes, whatever you want to call them. I mean, some have stims, some don't, some have +1. But this idea of this 2-base push, and he's made it so incredibly powerful to the point that Classic has tried several different iterations on the same idea, that Classic defense to any sort of barracks pressure, right? You just get a lot of stuff. It doesn't matter what it is, you just gotta throw a lot of stuff out there. Getting upgrades is gonna be really nice. Charge is, of course, super important. But 1A, the 1A that you got to deal with is making sure that you just have enough stuff. Make sure that you have enough Zealots, enough Stalkers, enough Phoenix, if you go that route, to actually survive. And, well, Classic has not had enough stuff. I don't know whether this is just because he went for 1-1 instead of just +1, or maybe even foregoing an upgrade in its entirety. But whatever the case, Classic has been broken time after time again. And here we are once again on an 8 expansion map. But again, this one does look a little bit smaller here. And Innovation, well, he will respond to that. It is going to be Reaper Marine once again, as it looks like another probe. Well, I should say the first probe in this game, but another probe in this series will go down. I want to say Innovation's killed 5 probes over the course of the last couple games here with these Reapers. And yes, he will lose that Reaper, but still, you don't want to lose that number of workers early on. Classic already wants to start just getting ahead that much more in workers over the next minute or so, because you got to remember, he has Chrono. He should be ahead just to match, to deal with the mules that Innovation has, that he can bring to bear. But here we see our first deviation from kind of the standard builds that Classic has been going with over the last several games, right? It's a Stargate opening, yes, and, well, Stargate opener makes sense. It's what one Classic game number 1, but this time it's an Oracle opening. This is a time Classic is just looking to make his aggression that much faster. And we're going to have to see whether that works out well for him. Is, well, these games he's played where he has had a lot slower aggression, where he's gone for this Blink Stalker, he blinked in, loses a lot, doesn't really get what he needs. Getting these Oracles here actually does mean that he can potentially do something, but look at this, he's going to shade on top of these Marines, which if he gets enough damage with the Oracle, it's going to be worthwhile. But that's only, what, 4 Marines, I think? No, he gets 2 Marines only. He probably could have gotten a third, but only getting 2 Marines there, well, it's going to have to be worthwhile, because whether there's a Cyclone here, it's going to be able to ward things away, and those were 2 Adepts now that have sacrificed their lives for nothing. The Cyclone will, of course, be able to ward the Oracle away, and now we talked about the damage that Classic was looking for. He's not going to get it. Now, he is making sure that he has the option to go do more things, right? There are more gateways on the way. Yes. Oh, he's adding a 3rd Oracle, actually. Is this going to be... There have been times when we see this, like, 3 Oracle, but a bunch of ground unit pressure, generally against Zerg. We saw SOS do that against the Rogue, I want to say, you know, back at the end of... towards the end of Heart of the Swarm. But, hey, you know what? These Oracles, they're going to fly on in. And there are not enough Marines to fight them just yet, but now the Marines from the main base will be brought on over, and with the Cyclone as well. Again, this is just edge damage. This is not the damage that Classic was looking for. Notice Innovation did a fairly good job of targeting things down. Oh, there's a second Cyclone on the map. This is 1 dead Oracle indeed. Now, the Cyclone will die, and that doesn't mean that there are 2 Oracles on the map yet still, but one of these Oracles doesn't have any energy. So that's going to make life a little bit more difficult here for the red Protoss player because, well, 2 oracles, they're great, right? They kill SCVs that much faster. It's not quite a one-tap. You need 3 for that. But they do kill things faster. But of course, with its only 1 oracle energy, well, you're not going to get a lot. But now, finally, Classic's starting to get some worker damage done. He's going to run out of energy. Will not be able to get that 5th worker. And actually, the Marines will not be able to kill off any oracles on the far side of the map. And I really do like this from Classic. It feels like he's learned his lesson from game number 1, where, you know, game number 1, he was sitting there, he was letting Innovation do what Innovation wanted. But, or not game 1, I should say the 4 previous games. But now we have Innovation not allowed to do what Innovation wants. Although, granted, right now he is moving out on the map here with this bit of pressure. But A, this has been scouted. B, Classic has done a very good job. He has stalkers across the map. He's starting to pair away at things of using the vision advantage that he has with the line of sight blockers here, but also he has done damage to his opponent. Look at this, more stalkers on the high ground. Maybe he's going to be able to target a tank down, but I don't think so. But anyway, these stalkers have absolutely found their value, and the whole goal here, knock down enough Marines that the oracles can fly in, because there are 2 oracles out on the map. They do a lot of DPS, and that means these tanks are really not going to be able to get a whole lot done. So what do we have? Do we have okay, 1 immortal. I guess 1 immortal was made and canceled. 2nd immortal is on the way, but most likely will not be allowed to complete as Slow Zealots look to run on in. But the oracle swooping on in from the skies. Is there enough health here for this to work? It looks like it actually, well, maybe not quite. But now the Zealots are going to get on top of things. 2 tanks will go on down. And, well, charge is just about done. +1, it's a little bit further off, but charge is just about done. It looks like this immortal, no, it will not complete. But now the Zealots will be able to get on top of things here, on top of the tanks as well. And well, 1 tank goes down, really, and the linchpin of this push is the tanks. So as long as the tanks die, there we go. Actually, Immortal will find his way out at the end of the day. So yes, 2 Zealots survive. The Immortal survives. And this is starting to be a masterful hold here from Classic. And if you look behind here, Innovation, he understands that this is not going to work anymore. He's adding on a couple additional barracks, going on up to 5, but no 3rd base. Innovation, he's living by the 2-base push. He is dying, potentially, by the 2-base push in this game. Or I should say in this series. It has worked for him thus far, but this time, I'm not convinced. Right? He does not have a starport. He does not have the barracks he needs to really make that production happen the way he would like. Is he going up to... Oh, wow. Innovation is going up to 7 barracks on 2 bases. I don't think you can support that. I mean, it's 8 racks on 3 bases. But I guess maybe without add-ons? That's interesting. But yeah, now he will have a medevacs out on the way here. But for the first time in a while, Classic has a bona fide advantage in a game. Now, game's not over. Although, if Innovation's not able to get anything done with this next big sledgehammer push, it will be. But Classic, he is up... he's up just about 8. He's up 18 workers. He's not up on army supply, but realistically, as a Protoss player, you don't expect to be up on army supply at this point in time. He has Storm on the way. He has +2 armor on the way. He was not greedy with his upgrades this time. He did not get that 2nd forge. He didn't get +1 attack as well. He's honestly, in these holds, he doesn't need it. We're going to have to see whether that's going to work out for him. As now, okay, yeah, he's got his 3 bases up. He's got 6 gas. He's on 67 workers. Now is the time you can add on that 2nd forge. Now is the time you can add on Blink and maybe a Robo Bay and start getting on into Colossus and getting on into these splash damage units that are so powerful in the mid game for a Protoss player, but not beforehand. And I like that scouting probe there from Classic as well, just making sure that he knows where the Terran army is. And ideally, I mean, the probe didn't want to die, but that is the downside or the upside of putting pylons out all over the map. He has a really good idea of where Innovation is now, which means he should be in position to deal with this. And notice the 2 High Templars there. I believe this was pre-size storm feedback. Not totally sure, but anyways, it should be able to deal with this. And there we go. The scan will reveal, well, any and everything that Innovation or that Classic is attempting to do in this game. But now we have a 2nd Robo on the way. We have Colossus on the way. Extended Thermal Lance. The longer this goes for Innovation, the more powerful Classic's army will be. Yes, he's down 20 army supply, but it is a powerful army indeed. We have 4 High Templar in the War Prism, trying to see the storms that they can get. They're not going to be great just yet. Nice splits there from Innovation. And there we go. Classic will lose a bit of production here. We'll lose that Cyber Core. Should be start to be remade immediately in the 2nd gateway as well, but it's fine. Right now, he's really only concerned about things that really don't actually require the Cyber Core to get made. You know, Colossus, Zealots, High Templar, all those fun things. So no, those stat storm things are going to be rather nice indeed. There's be more Zealots getting warped on in. Looks like Classic maybe getting ready for a surround on the low ground. No, he realized there's too much there, and the Widow Mines are going to make life a little bit too difficult. So Widow Mines on high ground will get targeted on down, but he has to be careful of the tank volleys. Tank volleys are going to be a bit of a problem as this Colossus does spawn, and the Marauders that are trying to do that will fall to their death here. Now we are going to have 3 Colossus hitting the field rather soon. We're going to see some more storms as Zealots, they're looking to filter on in. Now we're going to see the storms dropping on top of everything here. Zealots come streaming on forward with their 2 upgrade lead. Everything from Innovation is going to die right here, right now. That's not going to be enough. GG. Classic. He takes game number 6. All right, now we're going to get on into game number 7 here. Last game showed that Classic was against the ropes. Well, he is certainly not out. Not yet. And now we can see him fighting back with extreme prejudice and spawning in the upper left. In the blue, he's taken a couple games, but can he take that last one? At match point, he's the machine. He is Innovation. And his opponent here trying to storm his way back to a game number 9. In the red, the Chintos himself. He is Classic. And we finally saw Classic do that thing that I've been advocating for quite a while. Skip that second forwards, skip that +1, just get the armor upgrade, get the charge, and swarm the Terran with units. Now, that was not the entirety of that game, right? We saw him get a little bit of damage done early on. He did a really good job of paring away Marines as the Terran moved across the map. But again, at the end of the day, I really think it was that he just had that little bit more that he was able to bring to bear against the push when it finally hit his own base. Having that little bit more was all he really needed. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens on this map. It's a little bit shorter, but you also have those slow zones, which means the rest distance really isn't all that bad. That being said, it is a rather wide open natural. And you know what? It's a smaller map. All right, it's only 7 mineral patches here, not 8. So should the game go to 30-40 minutes, well, there's just less resources on the map, which may matter, may not. I mean, these games have been rather quick thus far. We've seen one player all inning and we've seen Innovation all inning and Classic either defending or not. But look at this probe here. It may just be a scouting probe, a delayed scout. We do see that as the meta swings back and forth, and clearly it was in the meta when these games were getting played. Yeah, so he's just going to go out there. He's going to say, yes, I'm going to avoid the Reaper, and I'm going to go back in, make sure that there's a natural, make sure that it completes, all that fun stuff. So the probe, well, he's going to stop outside the third base. I'm actually not, I don't think this is a proxy, but we're going to have to see here. Now the Reaper will find its way back on in. Once again, it should get one. Oh, no. Innovation, he sees that the Stalker's on the way out. He says, nope, not worth it to me. Not here. Not now. So the Reaper will run on home. And is this Stalker going to run across the map? Or is this just going to be single adept pressure? It looks like it's just going to be single adept pressure, which is totally fine. And this is also going to be a 3-gate opening here from Classic with a chrono on the warp gate. So I think, yeah, no, actually, no, that probe is going to drop a pylon. Now, this is just going to be some 3-gate pressure coming on in from the Chintos. And you know what? I like it. Innovation in the games that he has won has gotten away with extremely greedy builds that have allowed him to get aggressive fast, right? He's gotten away with cutting as many corners as possible, and, well, that makes that push happen a little bit, hit a little bit harder, hit a little bit faster, hit a little bit more deadly. So there we go. Now we see the pylon going on down. A gateway as well, it looks like. Oh, never mind. Pylon's already down. Stalkers are underway here. Yes, Classic, he has units at home, right? He's not leaving himself totally defenseless, but with these 3 gates and with really the dearth of gas, only the 2 gas here in the main base, well, we're going to have to see just how much damage Classic is going to be able to get done with this, because again, there's no Twilight. There's no Stargate. There's going to be no more maneuverability in the army of Classic. I mean, maybe there's eventually going to be a Warp Prism, but that's going to be just about it here, as the Stalkers will find this. Oh, I think, no, okay, there we go. The medevac will run out of the speed zone, but it's going to go down anyways, and yes, well, Widow Mines will burrow, but it's not really going to matter here as the army's already there. All right, so Classic really should look to move on forward here. Yeah, the Reaper's not going to be able to get in either. And Innovation, I mean, for his part, what is he doing? He has tanks on the way. That's useful. He has one bunker that is fully full. And he's just building up his army. This is, once again, a 3-1-1 opening from Innovation. Kind of the same builds we saw previously, except, well, this time it's tanks, and it is, in fact, a Stargate instead of last game where there was no Stargate. But now the Stalkers are going to run on forward. Are they going to be able to 3-shot this bunker? They will indeed. No blink is needed here, as they're going to get on top of things. A couple SCVs are going to go down immediately. And actually, there's room here for Innovation to be very heavily supply blocked. All these supply depots at the front. There we go. One supply depot does go down. Innovation now supply blocked. But with this tank on the low ground and tank on the high ground, actually, sorry, just tank on the low ground, well, there's going to be a bit of a problem, right? It's going to be difficult for these Stalkers to really move on in. But that's what the Adepts are for. They're going to look to A, shade on top of the tank, or B, maybe shade on up into the main base, force Innovation to make. Oh, actually, that's what he's going to do. They're just going to shade on top of the Marines here. So friendly fire from the tank means so much damage is going to go down to all the Marines. They're all in the orange and the red here, and the Stalkers with this concave are going to be able to take the fight. Indeed, now the time to move on in. Will they get the one tank? They will, but the second tank will force them to back on up for another warp-in round. But this time, though, Classic, he's got a Warp Prism here. He can just drop on top of that tank, Bulldog on top of it. And we also have fast warp-ins as well. So it's more and more Adepts coming on in. No more Stalkers. There is no need. And now the Adepts are going to get on top of the last vestiges of the Marines here. And the Stalkers, well, they're just going to drop on top of the tank. So should be enough to knock down this army at the front here. The tank slowly going down as Classic saves his Adepts from the tank shots. And now, what does Innovation have left? The answer is just about nothing. The Adepts, well, they're not going to take too much damage from these Marauders. Not for a little bit. More and more Stalkers getting warped on in with that additional range. They can knock these Marauders down. And yes, we have Widow Mines coming on in, but will we see the Shade Trick? I don't think so. But the Widow Mine friendly fire is going to get all the SCVs. And now Classic, he's going to take one more game. He's one game from equalizing this series and taking us to game number 9. All right, here we go as we get on into game number 8. Innovation, he lost the first game. He took the next 4, and now Classic, we have him roaring back 2 maps in a row. We're going to have to see whether he can make it 3 as well. And whether we're going to see that coveted, that eminently desired game number 9, or whether Innovation is going to take it right here, 5-3. I don't know. You don't know. We all don't know, but we're certainly going to find out as spawning in the upper left. In the blue, he is the machine here. In the blue, he is Innovation. And his opponent spawning in the bottom right, in at the red, looking to come roaring back into this series. He is Classic. You know, the most interesting part about this entire tournament format that we see here, this best of 9, is it is loser's pick. So when Classic lost 4 games in a row, all those maps after the first one were maps that he picked that he said, I think I have a fantastic shot of winning the game on. And he was wrong, and he was wrong, and he was wrong, and he was wrong, but then he was right. And then it was Innovation's turn to say, yes, I know what I'm going to win on. And he was wrong. So we're going to have to see whether Innovation is wrong a second time, as Disco Bloodbath, I believe, was the second or third map played. So Innovation has won a map on this thus far. We're going to have to see whether he's able to do that again, as once again, this is a larger map, and it's interesting. I mean, we see bigger maps Innovation is choosing to play on, or that Classic is choosing to play on, which does make a little bit of sense. But now, as we get on into things, we're also seeing Innovation choose a little bit bigger of a map here, but, you know, even if it is a bigger map, which means all-ins are maybe not quite as good as they otherwise would be, well, Innovation is winning on it. So at the end of the day, I guess that is all that matters here, and he also has a map to give. So at the end of the day, whether he wins this map, wins the next one, doesn't really matter to him as long as he wins at least one. This time, in this game, of course, we do not see, I don't believe we don't have a chrono on the warp gate, just on the Stalker, making sure that there are defensive tools available to Classic in this game. But notice, this is not an Adept opening. This is going to be Stalker Sentry, which means that Classic is going to be maybe a little bit more defensive than he was in the previous game. Certainly more defensive than the previous game, but more defensive than most of the games we've seen Classic play here today. And that just means it's going to be a Blink Stalker opening once again. At the very least, a Twilight opening. We're going to have to see just how much gas gets mined from Classic, whether he decides to go for a Dark Shrine, whether this is actually a well and truly a Blink opening, whether we see some weird Adept Glaive thing. I don't believe that was in the meta at this time, but we're going to have to see is, I believe, is that sentry? No, okay, the sentry's not stuck. There we go. Innovation, well, once again, if you've been watching Innovation over the course of this series, you know what to expect. We're going to see an additional barracks on the way for a grand total of 3, and it's going to be Widow Mine drops coming on in here behind this. So this, well, this is nothing new. The question, though, is whether Innovation actually is going to be able to drop the Widow Mines, because I believe more games than not in the series, the drop from Innovation has either been caught on the map, has been forced to stay home because of something Classic has done, or has gotten literally nothing done. And has been forced to just kind of sit there and maybe drop later on and still gets nothing done. Now, Classic here with Blink on the way. I believe, is this 1 gate? Ooh. Classic going for a 1 gate expand here in this game. Sorry, 2 gates. 1 gate was finishing, one warp gate was finishing up as I take a look at the structures tab. Classic going for 2 gate expand here in this game, which it feels like whenever Classic attempts to go greedy, he gets punished, and whenever he goes aggressive, it works out for him. So I understand the desire to go for a greedier build on a big map. It's got 8 bases. It's a lot of space, right? It makes sense. But I feel like that's just not the play here. Oh, wait, are we going to see... That is a very fast Templar Archives. Or, yeah, that's a very... Oh, look at that. He's going to be able to save one of the probes as well. Really nice micro there from Classic. Of course, well, things disappear when they go into the gas geyser, so if you time it right, you can do what he just did. So now, okay, we will see those Widow Mines go down. This is a very fast temple. Are we gonna... We're not gonna see storm drops, are we? No way. There's no Verbo. So I guess this is just gonna be a really quick storm here for Classic, and you know what? I don't hate it. You get storm, he already has Blink. We're probably gonna see Charge be the next little bit of something that gets researched. Because there we go. If he gets storm up by the time Innovation's assumed 2-base push comes, well, I mean, that push is just going to melt, even with the medevacs. That being said, that push hits right around 7 minutes, and storm is just barely... It's going to be a very tight timing indeed. But I like this from Classic. Once again, we're seeing him get aggressive with this army. Right, he's moving out on the map with everything that he has. And the whole goal is, again, pair units away, delay Innovation. Buy time for the storm that is now 50% complete to get to exist on the map, to deal with the pressure that Innovation is going for. But look at this, Innovation. Well, first of all, looks like that Blink didn't get nearly as much as, well, it does reveal the storm. But Innovation's also got a drop on the map. Okay, now Stalkers are going to blink on into the main base, and this time they're starting to find a little bit of damage, but now... Oh, Innovation. You're so smart, but Classic, he's just a little bit smarter here. He will find that edge, but now we have this drop. Where is that? Okay. Not quite into the natural just yet, but there we go. We have Storm done. Charge is done in about 25 seconds. But this drop, though, Classic is not prepared for this drop whatsoever here. We will have to see a recall coming on in, and that's all that Innovation needs. This gives him license to move out on the map without any bits of worry. But how many High Templar do we have? We have 4. Where are they? Okay, outside of the 3rd base, and they all have a decent amount of energy. So that should be 4 to 6, maybe even 8 storms between all of them. So if Classic's able to land his storms appropriately, he's going to be in a rather good spot indeed, especially now that Charge is done. I look at the army's plan, it's not great. I look at the tech we have here from Classic, and I'm like, maybe, I mean, Storm is a great force equalizer here, but now, okay, the army from Innovation is just going to drop on into the main base like we saw in the previous game on this map. And once again, Innovation, well, he's going to catch Classic sleeping here. The army, it will be pulled back. The probes are going to get pulled back as well, but they are just boxed into a corner. We need the army here from Classic. We need these storms, but Innovation, with a fantastic spree split, the storms will not really get a whole lot here. And there we go. We see one Widow Mine go down. A couple more will get siphoned off here. And just, oh, that last one is going to be massive indeed. But now the army finally is going to be knocked down, or it will be forced back at the very least. And we've not yet seen a single storm because Innovation has done just such a good job of maneuvering around it. So now he's going to cycle on into the 3rd base. The Immortal, is going to go down immediately. And we just don't have the storms. We don't have the fluidity of army that Classic needs to make sure he holds this. So now the storms are going to come in, and what's Innovation do? He's going to drop on into the main base. These pre-splits are fantastic indeed. That storm's going to be nice, yeah, but that's only, what, a quarter, a fifth of the army that Innovation has to bring to bear here. Second storm's going to whiff, and how many more do we have? I think it's like 4 more storms. That one's going to be nice. and now we're starting to see some storms, but there's nothing to do the last little bit of damage. All the zealots have already been used, and now they're going to come on in. Yeah, the storms are going to be nice, but the splits are doing so gosh darn much here. The third base is going to go down. So many workers are going down here as well. And Classic, now he's down 40 supply. And actually, yet more if he's not careful. His zealots do get siphoned on into the Terran army. We've seen this before on this map. What is the game-breaking move? What do you do when you are ahead? But you can't quite finish the game out just yet. You drop Liberators. You own the space. You establish significant space control, and you just make it so hard for Classic to engage on into you when he needs to. So now Innovation is going to drop on into the main base, looking for that back-breaking move. He's already killed the third base. Will he get the main nexus as well? We will have to see. But I mean, he's already pre-split these Widowmine shots. They're just doing such a good job here in this game. And the Storms, they're just not quite in range just yet. As Innovation, he splits backwards, and as the Storms land, the army picks on up Innovation. He gets back out of here with the lack of anti-air. There's nothing Classic can do except for, well, try to reposition once again as the rest of the army comes rolling on in. And now the Liberators are here, cutting off the main and the natural from the third. I'm not sure what Classic is supposed to do. He's down double army supply at this point. We got a little bit of army in the third base that Innovation maybe, well, he's going to siphon off a little bit to maybe deal with that third base. But as of right now, it is the natural that is the problem here. So, well, the army's a little bit clumped up, so we might see some decent storms. But now Innovation needs to learn from his mistakes previously. Maybe these storms are going to be able to knock the Liberators down, but that's only the first two. And there we go. Liberators, that last one will stay alive, but should be able to get taken out now. But I believe that was the last of the storm. So once again, the third base is going to get taken on down here, but this is going to be Classic's chance if he ever has one. It's going to be a flank coming on in from two sides, but the army of Innovation just too damn strong here. All the tech is going on down, and Classic, he's going to have to tap out. GG. Innovation takes the final score of this series, 5-3. And what a game there from Innovation. What games from Classic. What a blast from the past indeed. A throwback. Might even be so bold. But now we're done here in this video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you like what I do, make sure to follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Beowulf. Follow me on Twitter at Beowulf_SC2. But more importantly, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to this video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe to AlphaXSC2. We'll be doing more of these throwback casts. I think we're going to be doing Cyril versus Classic Guest. Don't quote me on that. We're going to have something, as well as all the other content that we produce here on this channel. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you next time.